back to 10. When you talk about the church, a lot of people know that she's the bride. They don't see the whole picture, though. The church is not just a woman and a bride. Part of the church is associated with the Lamb, Jesus, which puts you in the male section. But the whole concept of the church, all the things that this speaks about, are all facets of the church. When you looked for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, you looked for certain features, but maybe that person had other things you didn't know about. It's neat to know that they have that talent. And then sometimes we overlook certain things and we end up with a grouchy person. So, the thing is the Lord knows, like I said last week, He's not taking something tailor-made. He's taking it off the rack and tailoring it to what He wants. I know if you're a man and you're built kind of like the way a man's supposed to be, you can almost take a suit off the rack and it might not take too much to fit it to you. But like me now, I'm built like this. So the guy, the last time I had a suit tailored, he says, well, you have this problem, He talked with a foreign accent. He didn't want to say you're fat. He said, the thing is in the front. I go, yeah, I have a thing in the front. So we're going to have to make this suit fit me, not Arnold Schwarzenegger. But he looks for this virtuous woman, and like I said, it doesn't just mean she's a goody two-shoes. It means she's an army. In every way, shape, or form, she's strong. And even though the church don't seem to be cutting that right now, it's gonna just fit into that. And God's going to see to it that we do. And it's neat because, it says that the heart of her husband does safely trust in her. I think it would be neat for the Lord to be able to say to me that He trusts in me. And He doesn't have no need of spoils. What's that mean? He doesn't have to buy my love. Sometimes you got a guy who's got a girl that's out of his league, and in order to keep her, he starts buying her jewels and all kind of cars and stuff like that. Well, what happens when she gets tired of that? Then she's tired of you. Well, God's not out to buy people. And that kind of irked me for years, that it seemed like the evangelistic message was, come on over and everything will be fine. And then they come over and it's not fine because now tribulation. In this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And so as long as you know that, then you can rest. Then you can feel safe, you can feel taken care of, you can rest in his love. But as long as you just are going to bite your fingernails over everything, you're going to always have turmoil. And he doesn't want you to have turmoil. Okay? So she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And then it goes into these things that nowadays, if you try to talk women into doing this stuff, they would say, no, I'm not going to take wool and I'm not going to shave a sheep and turn it into a thread, and I'd rather go to the store and buy it. Let somebody else do it. But if you go into these things and study them a little, you know, she's doing these things for her family, and you know, it benefits people all around that aren't even in her family. The church should be benefiting everybody all around it. Okay? It's hard sometimes to get things going like that, but it can be done. And I know sometimes that becomes the centerpiece, and it's you know, the idea is to get people to see the agape love. That's why they had those dinners. They were called agape dinners, and it was to bring people in, feed them. That was a big thing. Somebody feed you, especially for free. No strings attached. And if you want to find out about who Jesus is, well, we'll tell you. But we're going to do something for you with no strings attached. Okay? So that's how things have to be. We have to do it out of love. And you know, I was thinking the other day, for a while there, our local spinal column newspaper would find somebody and they'd do, I forget what they called it, a minute or something interview. And the lady had been going around all over the place seeing people and interviewing them. But the one she was impressed with was Danny. Because the whole time she was interviewing him, he was underneath like somebody's car, fixing it for him. You don't get too many pastors that get their knuckles scuffed and grease on them, do you? And so she thought that was something. And she put that in her interview and in her thing. And I thought, well, when I read it, I go, that's Danny. That's what he does. And so it's not things that are cut and dried and we're going to do it for ulterior motives. No. Whoever that, I forget who that was, whose car you were underneath fixing, but they needed their car. So they got their car. So she seeks wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She arises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. This sounds like this lady has no problem inconveniencing herself. And when we get right down to it, sometimes it's inconvenient to take care of somebody, say, I love you, and then help them out, whatever they need. Sometimes it's money, sometimes they need a house painted or something like that. And, you just put yourself out and help that person. Okay? When it said, Lord, when did I ever see you hungry or naked or thirsty or whatever? Whatever you did to one of these, the least of my brethren, you did it unto me. And so, I love that this church, in whatever facet it's in, is ready to do above and beyond. Okay. She considers a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. Remember, women couldn't own land. Okay? The daughters of Zelophehad got 5 hunks of land, but they had to have it under a male in their tribe. And so, how in the world could she buy land? The authority of her husband allowed her to buy a field. She looked for one that would be a good place. Okay, so look at this. We considered this field and we bought it. And with the fruit of our hands, okay, we planted a vineyard. Vineyards are always churches. And so you plant something and you nurture it and you expect it to grow and get going. And so it's an always moving, growing thing. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. This lady needs to take a break, but luckily, it's not one person, is it? It's a group of people. And so everybody doing, many hands makes the burden light, I know. I see him. I was watching this thing called Arctic Vets. These vets go up into the Arctic and they find crazy stuff like polar bears with a bad tooth and fix it. Okay. What was I going to say about that? Huh? Yeah, well, they're working all the time, and there's teams of people, they have to tranquilize it, and then they got to have X amount of time that they have to get it done before the thing wakes up. And so they're they're working feverishly to do a root canal on a polar bear. I wouldn't even want to do a root canal on a person. They'll bite me or something. But they're dedicated to help that animal, and so it's no burden to them. It's a joy when they get done. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. I don't know anything about weaving, but I've always been mesmerized by it. How everything. Okay, where did it start? Did you do this first, or did you do this first? So when I watch it, it's something that's a skill. Somebody has to teach you, and then you have to be willing to keep doing it. And she stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. This sounds like a family that has abundance. So much so they can give it away. And they look for people to give it to. And so this is what's going on with the church. The one that I like, if you just read these things, they don't jump out at you. It says, she is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. What in the world does that mean? That's why we have Hebrew and Greek. I used to think about when I'd wake up in a winter day and I'd look outside and the snow is blowing and I had to walk to school. It wasn't one of them things where you had to go uphill both ways or nothing, but you had to walk to school in whatever the weather was. And you'd wake up and your ma'd be already up and she's making malto meal. Remember that stuff? Or cream of wheat, or something like that, some hot cereal. So she's already preparing for the day for you. But that isn't what it's talking about. That word snow, if you look it up, it's the word white. Okay? And it has to do with linen. And it doesn't have to do with white linen as being the righteousness of saints. This has to do with linen stained with blood when somebody dies. Okay? So, what it's saying here is, she's not afraid of that. She's not afraid for her people for that death thing. Why? Because all her household are clothed with scarlet. They're clothed with salvation. Okay, the red thread, remember, what was her name? Rahab, and a couple other places, red thread was thrown into the fire of the red heifer offering. Okay, so that symbolizes salvation. So she's not afraid of her household being wrapped in bloody linen because they're dead. She has salvation. He's clothed them with scarlet. I thought, once I read that, I go, wow, that's neat. I like that. You just got to dig into this stuff, or else you're just left with she got up in the snow and her family has scarlet. Why, that's the church's job, to see that her children are clothed in scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Okay? This lady's not wearing ripped jeans. Okay, she's wearing silk, and she's wearing purple. She's wearing all the stuff that shows that she's got, and her husband has provided her an abundance. And so I still like thinking about all these things. I mean, she takes on everything and wins, whatever it is. And so she maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. And here's the one. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Okay? I don't know how much French you know, but they have a saying, cherchez la femme. You know what that means? Look for the woman. Whether the guy is outstanding because he's great or whether he's a bozo, it usually pivots on his woman. You're not just some second-hand thing. You're the catalyst. You're the thing that urges him into a good thing or a bad thing. So, in this case, we're looking for being urged into good things. He's in the gates. Okay, that's where all the guys that are judges, guys that are rulers, guys that are considered somebody to listen to, he's known in the gates. I would say Jesus is known in the gates. And we should be someone who helps them know him in the gates. Okay? We should be talking about him and bragging about him. Anything you can think of to show him off. He said, if I be lifted up, then what? I will draw all men unto me. We don't have to urge people in some kind of program. All we have to do is show him off. And they'll want what they see. And that's sometimes people don't know what they want till they see it. Okay, they know they need something different, but it's not readily apparent to them what it is. And then one day a light bulb goes on and they see Jesus. We see Jesus. And so I think I'll stop there, verse 24, till next week. So